And with that, we move to our first speaker, Lada Merkulova, who will tell us a little bit more about organizational structure as a unified basement of a business. And I will leave the virtual floor to Lada to tell us a little bit more about herself, but also a bit more about the topic. And yeah, have a great alumni talk. And we will do about 20 minutes talk and then 10 minutes Q&A. So stay ready for that. Lada, over to you.
Great. So we're about to start. Me manage a bit of screen sharing thing, but usually it goes all right.
I can
So
see it.
hello, everybody. Yes, great, great, great. Hope I can see all of you too. Yes, I can. Amazing. So today I would like to share with you a bit more about organizational structure as a basement for a business. I've heard most of you are entrepreneurs, mostly consulting. Some of you are planning to be entrepreneurs. Some of you just working for big companies, big businesses. So it should be relevant, and I would like to tailor my presentation to you. But in case you have any clarifying questions, feel free to ask them. So a bit about myself. Overall, I've developed no more than 150 structures for small and medium enterprises over for 40 industries, like more or less as the same, but definitely each of the industry has its own specifics. My AIESEC journey finished as MCP of AIESEC in Albania, so Balkans, hello, hello again. And before that, there was MCVP exchange of AIESEC in Moldova. Originally, I'm from Ukraine, and I was like for 3 years of my journey in LC Kyiv, the capital. And definitely, as AIESECers, it's important to mention the internship experience. 2012, I've been to Russia, Samara. So that's the tiny details which you might need to know, especially if you joined later after get to know each other. So about the organizational structure. To start it, I would like to start from basics, like for us to be on the same page. And we start with definition of a function, okay? Because function is first gear of all this big mechanism. So it's specific type of activity of employee or subdivision. So for example, some of you mentioning like purchasing, okay, so it's one function, like editing ads, creating ads, designing, doing something else, it's more functions. And there are lots of the functions in the business, definitely. So to make it organized, to make it structured, there is organization as a set of functions, okay? And definitely can be performed by people or even divisions, subdivisions. So the small, the more functions are run by the same employee, and it grows. So like one employee per function, and then unit who is performing this function, and things like that. But what is important in this definition is that we have coordinated interaction. Okay, it's not that somebody is doing on his own or like don't talk to other people. It's just I have my job and I will do my job. So we experience that in AIESEC a lot. We talk to each other, we communicate, we create plans together, strategies together, and things like that. And definitely organization can move all together if it's aimed to achieve common goal. Yes, in AIESEC we do have common goals stated from the very beginning. And in other companies, sometimes the owner or the board of owners speak up the goal, and sometimes they don't. So when they don't, it's more difficult to move together, to move the same direction, not to have the fights, not to have the contradictions, conflicts, and everything. So on the example, you can see the manager who is responsible for set of employees, set of functions. So the result of advertising manager is new clients. So he's doing advertising not just for the sake of doing it, but to actually get new clients. And then the customer service is doing some diagnostics. They're getting the client, they're getting the car for diagnostic, and then the mechanic is checking what should be done and requesting like what should be purchased. And then supply manager is preparing car, preparing spare parts so that we can actually conduct the fixing, and then mechanic is actually fixing the car. So all this flow is going to the final result, fixed car. Yes, so we are making our customers happy so they can drive further to their dreams, to their jobs, to their families, wherever they want to drive. But the point is, each function is organized, is collaborating with other functions, and they are going towards common goal. But what I also want to stress on, that each of the person or function or the subdivision, depends on the size of the company, they do have their final result, okay? Something what is my responsibility, my result, my area. It's not that like, okay, you fill this table, a bit of this table, do a bit of that task and a bit of that task. No, like there is some specific clear result. And when the person or employee or division has it in their mind, they are more effective in their work, okay? So this is the organization overall, and within our consulting company, Vysotsky Consulting, we are dividing organization in 7 main functions. Okay, so on the top you see owner, CEO, a few more top-level positions like executives, administrative, operative, and PR executive. And in the same time, we have 7 main functions or divisions, let's say, as part of organization. So the one of them is executive, which is obviously managing all of it. So it's has a top number. It's not the mistake. It starts from 7. So they are having all the subordinates. They're responsible for the strategy. Even legal, safety, security is under this function, because it's their responsibility to provide all organization with features, with basement, let's say. The next function is HR and office management, or people management, or talent management, or different names for HR are popular, even in AIESEC. So this function is responsible for people and providing employees with all the needed tools, all the needed materials, all the needed documents in terms of job binders, like job descriptions, I don't know, office supplies, so that employees can actually work all together. And then the next function is distribution. It includes advertising and sales. So for us to actually sell our product, we need to get clients, to tell them how amazing the product is, and definitely to sell it. Next function is financial. So after we sold something, we are getting payment. We need to count it. We need to account it for governmental laws. We need to distribute that money and things like that. And the fourth division or function is production, and it varies from company to company. So if you are producing wood sticks, it's plant, it's all the conveyors who are making that wood, cutting that wood and everything. Most of you mentioned that you have consulting companies, so it's consulting services, all your consultants, all your databases, all your forms, files, like specific technology which you have. For media business, for example, it could be production itself of news, of movies, or buying data from other companies. So production division is quite unique in every company. And then we have a qualification function, which is checking the quality of people, the quality of product which our clients get, and the quality of our processes. Okay, all the ISO standards, all the customer questionnaires, NPS tracking, like CSI, any other things are done by this division. And then we have public relations, which is a bit different from distribution, because distribution mostly focused on the immediate purchase, okay, or in some companies, purchase can be like 3 months, 4 months, some contract standards, like long processes, but still they're focused to get the client and to sell it. And public division is mostly about image, about our brand, some social projects, some partnerships, strategic ones, like how do we increase our company, how do we develop it. So briefly, that is division for 7 functions, which we suggest to use because it covers any type of business. And it helps to have all the functions in place, not to omit any of them, especially when you start new business or when you're running current one and you feel that something is not working, but you don't understand what. So like sometimes it helps to actually realize like which function is not really working, or like which of them is weak and should be improved, or like what is a bottleneck and things like that. So definitely this is a big, let's say, distribution. And it can be each of the divisions is divided in departments. Each department is in sections. And within our theory, I can go deeper and longer and more, but I have only 20 minutes. So let's stop with a general overview. If you will have more questions, I will definitely reply. But what I wanted to share with you is mistakes of small and medium enterprises, which I see personally. I managed to focus on top 3, which actually business owners of small and medium businesses are facing. For big companies, it's not that obvious, but if you're willing to start, so maybe you will see it on your own, like how does it work? So first mistake, sorry, click. Yes. First mistake is to have the same people responsible for distribution and production. I see often that salesperson and consultant, for example, or salesperson and mechanic, for example, is the same person, and the manager is requesting end sales and delivery of the result to the client, which is very difficult to combine for the person, or focus on sales and keep in mind all the clients, all the promises, all the commercial proposals, whom, when does he send and everything, or the production, when should it be done, what is the terms, when is the deadlines, and things like that. And also, it's very tricky because has its own flaws, its own difficulties, has its own angry clients or unsatisfied clients or something like that. So it actually decreases the motivation of the sales. Okay, like sales, as you know, they should believe in their product, they should talk about it, they should inspire, believe, shiny nice and things like that. But when in the same time they're responsible for production, it's quite difficult. That's why not of many freelancers actually passing the stage, because they're doing their own executives, their own HR management, they're selling their services by themselves, they're managing their finances. So like this is one of the biggest mistakes which I see. And if you can delegate one area to somebody else, or production or distribution, it will save you lots of time and nerves. But definitely at some point, like this happens, and sometimes there is no option to delegate it. Just keep it in mind, and if you perform both functions, just distribute them on time. And when you perform, focus on itself, you know, like, okay, I'm the sales guy, don't think about production, don't think about issues, like believe in your product, go sell it. As soon as you sold it, you're like, okay, I've sold this one, here is the list, let me produce it. So this is the first mistake, which I am noticing a lot when working with clients. The second one is about people doing small specific things. Usually when you're launching your own startup, you're working everything by yourself, as I just mentioned. And then you're like, okay, this function is taking a lot of me. Let me give it to somebody else. For example, I have leads from the web page, and to call to everyone and to reply and to schedule something and everything is too much. So let me delegate the calls. And then after some time, you see that another function is taking lots of your time, and you're like, okay, let me take this tiny function, like to reply emails or to schedule events or to press the button for Facebook marketing, to somebody else. And then it turns out that you as an owner or you as a manager have lots of people under you responsible for tiny, tiny things, but the whole responsibility for all the entity is under you. Like this example in terms of big company or like company, but even if you're the manager of some division, subdivision, department, or anything in your own, in your company where you're working as hired employee, you might have the same. You might have people hired for you, like, okay, help me a bit with here, help me a bit with there, and that's it. And you don't trust him, you don't give them responsibility. So it's very important, like you see those circles, they're somewhere in the middle and a bit chaotically. What I suggest is to actually put people higher a bit and to give them whole range of responsibility. Maybe they are not ready for it yet. Maybe they are not fulfilling it properly. But first of all, you're giving them the opportunity to grow. And second of all, it's not that you are fully performing those functions. Like when you have all of them on your shoulders, you're doing a bit of here, a bit of there, a bit of everything. But when you actually delegated like a block of function to somebody, like, okay, you're responsible for whole distribution. Like all the marketing, all the sales, all the advertisement, it's your area. Definitely some things you are more competent, some things are not, but it's for you. It will be easier for you to request results from the person, okay? And second of all, it will be easier for you to manage because you know that like this area is responsibility of this person and that area is responsibility of another person. And it's very funny story that mostly we are delegating with what to do. Like do this, do that, click like this, click like that. And as Simon Sinek mentioned, like we need to have the why and we need to have the goal in mind, okay? So it's absolutely crucial that you mention the expected result to the person, okay? Like employee, subordinate, like whoever is under you. And when they know the result, it doesn't really matter which tools they're using. I mean, definitely ethical tools, definitely not buying alcohol and stuff like that, but still, like they might have the way which is different from yours. They might do it differently, which you might not agree, but in the end of the day, they get a result which you want. So why do you need to micromanage them? Why do you need to stress them, to push them, like do it exactly like it's in the instruction if they're getting the result? So it's important to delegate the area and then to state like what specific result do you expect from the person. Okay, and the third mistake which I wanted to share with you, it's mostly on the growing business. When we have already some team, we have already people responsible for sales, for production, for finance, everything. But hiring, it was so rare before. It was not that often the owner was doing it himself, like, okay, I will find somebody, I will ask my friend, or I will encourage some fellow AIESEC or something like that. But at some point, it's very huge bottleneck that people already get used to the fact that they're hiring themselves, but they need to expand, they need to grow, they need to hire more people, and it actually takes time. It takes time to publish the job ads, it takes time to interview all the candidates, it takes time to run through all the recruitment processes and things like that. So when you don't have HR or like even recruiter, you know, like some basic function, even part-time person remotely from another country, it's actually stopping the growth because the hiring should be done by the person who is on top, okay? Or its owner itself hiring all the people, or its head of every division hiring for himself, which is also taking time, numerous efforts, like I forgot to call to somebody, they got disappointed, it affected our image and like that. So briefly, that's it about all the, I mean, not all, definitely there are more mistakes, but that's top mistakes which I see in my work and which I wanted to share with you from the practice, from the perceptions of people who are working with it. And what I wanted to mention, that when you have the structure defined, when you have it ready, when you have it clear who is responsible for which function, what result they're expecting from them, it's easier to set up the communication system. It's not that all questions are going to the manager, to the business owner, and then business owner is distributing who talking to whom. You know, like when people know about each other, who's responsible for what, they can communicate directly. It's definitely easier to set metrics when you're clear, like what results to expect from anybody. It's easier to set planning, regular meetings, and all the other organizational things. So structure as a basement, as was mentioned in the title, actually helps to organize the company later on and to actually make it more smoothly running to achieve bigger goals, which I'm sure each of you have. So that's briefly about my talk. And if you have any more questions or clarifications, there are my contacts. You can approach me and clarify anything you want.